Welcome to another episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers. I'm your host, Dennis Coral, and we continue to be here with Francia Cabral. Thank you for being here. And today we're going to talk about what drives you crazy. So I think that there's no better topic. You know, in our profession, there are things that we wish it didn't happen, but they do happen in the course of helping clients. Sometimes you give an advice and then clients go the other direction, or sometimes clients wait too long. From experience, you know, before April 14, we're always busy in our practice because we're helping clients make their contributions before the deadline. And that drives Jonathan crazy. He's our operations manager, so he's always last minute trying to help clients make those contributions. And those are things that could have been preventable and avoidable. And although we email clients to let them know, hey, your contributions are up, let's just try to do it before April 15, we're always busy during tax season. But I'm sure that in your profession, there are things that do happen or that do not happen that may drive you crazy or may frustrate you. So you mind sharing some examples?
Yeah. So, I mean, I mentioned in the previous episode that unnecessary conflict, that's, I would say, my number one. But I would say definitely number two would be when I need financial documents and the clients drag their feet. That's a huge pet peeve because discovery is so important, and I can't demand discovery from the other side if I'm not providing discovery from our side. So I think that's my number two pet peeve. Number three is when clients don't listen. Yeah.
Tell me more.
You're paying me for my advice, man. Okay. You're paying a lot of money for my advice. You should at least listen. So, I mean, look, I think that it is ultimately the client's decision to do what they want in a case, but I'm giving them the best advice. They're paying me for it. It's for a reason, you know? So I think I've gotten to the point in my career where I say, okay, listen, okay, we can do this like this. This is what I recommend, or we can do what you're suggesting, and this is what it's going to cost you if you do this and if you do that. Make your choice, you know, and then when they see the numbers, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do this other thing. Let's do what you say.
Would you say that men don't listen more than women, or is it really depends?
I don't think it has anything to do with gender? To be honest. Yeah,
so I that's think a it's misconception.
Just, yeah, I definitely. I work with men and women equally, and I have great clients who are men, and I have great clients who are women. I think it's more, honestly, I think that it has more to do with how angry and how emotional the client still is. Because sometimes, actually 100% of the time when people are still angry, they want to do things that are petty and get back at their exes, you know, and that really is what changes the tone. When you're ready to move on and you're ready to like just let's work through this and move past this, that makes all of the difference.
So I guess I would interpret that as not being emotionally in a good place.
Yeah.
Where you're clocked, it's hard for you to make decisions because you're not in a good mental state because you're letting your emotions be the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. And that can be difficult.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because a divorce is always emotional. You're talking about the most intimate and most private and most important areas of your life. You know, we're talking about your children, your home, your retirement, your marriage. Like, you know, how is it not emotional? I mean, emotional in the sense where you're still angry, where you haven't accepted that this is where the marriage is going. And a lot of times that happens when, let's say, you know, it was the other side who made the decision and decided to file for divorce. Even if you knew it was coming, if you didn't feel like you were a part of that decision, if you felt like, you know, they did this to me.
Yeah, it may seem like a betrayal or something.
It is. It's a huge betrayal. And even then, you know, A lot of times I tell my clients that even when the other side knows it's coming, even when you've talked about it and they know, filing for divorce feels like an act of war, you know? So I think that there are ways of handling things where it helps the other side feel like a part of the conversation and the decision, you know, rather than just filing and serving somebody with papers.
Yeah, especially in our Latino community where we have so many emotions.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
such a Latino, we're emotional human beings. I can imagine how can that even escalate more. You know, something that always gets me upset is when I work with clients and we prepare a budget so they can live off the budget of the income that they are set, and they don't follow it. Because at the end of the day, it's themselves hurting themselves by not following the budget. If they're going to live off $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 from their investment portfolio, and they end up doubling that as an expense because they just chose to take an extra vacation, make an unnecessary expense, and now they're using the principal. That always drives me crazy. I know you mentioned those things, but can you give an example of something that might have recently happened, or clients that do drive you nuts or as crazy in that perspective?
Yeah, I had a client recently, and this person is no longer my client because I don't condone this type of behavior, but she was so desperate to get a leg up in her divorce that, you know, she had an argument with her spouse. They were still living in the same household, and she ended up calling the police on him and making it seem like there was like a domestic violence type of situation, and, you know, creating all of this, you know, unnecessary chaos, which ultimately didn't help her at all. One, it made things a lot more convoluted and crazy, a lot more expensive, and it didn't have the outcome that she wanted it to, because to the judge, it seemed like she was doing what exactly she was doing, which is creating a situation where one didn't exist. And, you know, I don't stand by things like that, and I can't work, you know, on cases like that because it's unethical, it's dishonest, and, you know, it's just not the right thing to do. But yeah, you know, this happens a lot, you know, and unfortunately, you know, and it's, again, when people are letting themselves be driven by their anger, people do crazy things.
Yeah. And I'm always admire how you're always well composed and the way you explain things to clients. And I think it's so valuable because they're going through an emotional process, as you mentioned, and you always seem to be cool, calm, and collected. And I give that to you. It's a trait that it's not easy to find, especially in family lawyers. So kudos to you for being who you are and for providing the kind of level and support and advice to people going through something so emotionally, especially here in South Florida, where everybody seems to be running by emotions by the day, even when they're driving. So thank you so much, Francia, for being here. It was my pleasure of having you as a guest for this episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers, where we discuss such an important topic of going through transitions and money and all it takes. So thank you for being here. As we like to say at Core Wealth Management, retirement and financial confidence starts here. Thank you.